Hello and welcome to Mayster Reviews. This video in particular has been a long time coming. I'm going to zoom through this as quick as I possibly can, but it revolves around the historical reviews that I've been doing. Obviously, as you know, I've been going through the decades in film, and starting from this very day, I'm going to touch on my first modern review. But to fill the gaps between sort of, up to the present day, the start of the channel, and up to this point, I've seen every single major release film anyway, by Cineworld Cinema standards anyway, excluding a few ones here and there, for all of January to April 2022. Preparing for this video where I can quickly go through and just fire them off and say how I feel about them all. So yeah, let's get right into it. What I'm going to do with this system anyway, because I don't have an overall rankings, and if I keep on doing that for the rest of the year, it's going to get a bit mad. But what I'll do is an improvisation, is I'll take all the films I've seen in a particular month and I've ranked them. So I saw 10 in January, 13 in February, 8 in March and 10 in April. So yeah, I've ranked all of those from the bottom upwards. So I'm going to go through them all. So we'll start with January 2022. So let's go from the bottom upwards. First of all, in 10th place, we have Licorice Pizza, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. This one, I've never seen a Paul Thomas Anderson film to this point, and I have to tell you, I absolutely despise this one. I was sat in my chair the entire time like this, honestly waiting for the credits to roll. And I'll tell you exactly why that was the case, because I don't feel the thing actually had a narrative. It just kept going, and there was event after event. Oh, what if this happened? What if this happened? And there wasn't some sort of cohesive story. I'll give credit, the characters were well developed, but there was no plot at all. They just went from, it was just thing to thing to thing, and all of it was character based. There was no actual inciting incident or plot. It just went from thing to thing to thing. It was very character based about, well, I'm trying to start a business here, try to start a business there, and it kind of just went very circular, and no one ever learned any lessons. And it was really weird and creepy how the age gap between the two of them, the relationship, it was just all over the place. But yeah, slightly better than that. In number 9, we have the 355, starring Lupita Nyong'o, Jessica Chastain. I'm not going to pronounce the Asian woman's name, because I know for a fact I'll get it wrong. Bing Fan, I think. I can't remember. I apologise if I've got that wrong. I'm trying to remember what the name was, and I can't. And I think Diana, I don't know. I can't remember the one from Germany, and Penelope Cruz. A band of sort of female spies who it was good. Sebastian Stan does a okay job in it. The action in one particular sequence was great. Towards the beginning of the film, and it actually had some consequences. There were some genuine hard-hitting moments in it, which I did not expect. You expect a film like that to kind of pull its punches, and when I was watching the trailers, I was in a lot of hope that it would be a good entry. I'm not saying the 355 is a bad film. I'd just like Licorice Pizza, but I'm not saying that the 355 is a bad film. I'm just saying that the 8 to follow are better, in my opinion anyway. So, actually, yeah, there's 11 films in January, so there's so that Licorice Pizza's 11, 355's 10, and in number 9 is Sing 2. The cast return. It's a great family film, and there was honestly some gut punching moments, like heartwarming things in the third act, that regarding the final performance, that really do get you a tiny bit choked up, and the fact how animation special illumination has the power to do that, even in a little bit, it does speak to the film's credit. So yes, I am putting that above 355. So coming in at number 8, we have Jockey. Now Jockey is oh, what am I on about? No, that's not a January. No, oh man, I started doing an overall 2022 rankings, and I put no, so forget that. There was 10 in January. So we have 10 Licorice Pizza, 9 355, 8 Sing 2. Number 7 is A Journal for Jordan. Now, A Journal for Jordan stars Michael B. Jordan and a newcomer into the fray. It's sort of a couple romance movie, as sort of the guy goes off to war and writes a diary, writing lessons to his son as his wife's pregnant back home. He dies in service, and then the son learns from the lessons that his dad wrote to him in this journal. It's a great story, but I think some of the beats could have been. It was very well performed, by the way, very well performed, and the story's lovely. But I think in terms of direction and execution of that story and the great performances being utilised, it could have been slightly better. Whether that's through soundtrack or direction or just whatever it would be, I think the execution technically of the story could have been done a little bit better. But yeah, the story on its own is fantastic. Just edging above, I struggle with this one. Number 6 is Parallel Mothers. This is a film with yet again Penelope Cruz, and it's about it grows from sort of. I'm trying to remember the plot because of course it's been a while, especially the January one since I saw them. But it's incredibly competently done. There's a lot of themes and symbolism involved with this story, sort of mothers and what it means to be a mother, and sort of family and heritage. And if I didn't realise till the final moment of the film how family and heritage was such an important part of the film, and so the future of what families look like given the LGBT representation involved here. If I didn't understand that towards the end of the film, it wouldn't be as high as this. But the symbolism and the really competently done structure of it, yeah, that's what threw it higher. So yeah, number 5 we have Amulet. Well, this thing's just batshit crazy. This is a completely abstract tale about consequence for things you've done in your life. It was kind of a sort of a eureka moment film where you realise in a moment it's like a plot twist and you go, oh shit, did that really just happen? Yeah, it's a very stylized film. There are sides to it that are very creepy, and it's like gothic horror, and it's very strange. But it's yeah, I was incredibly impressed with the way technically it's done. Whereas A Journal for Jordan lacked in technical competence, I would say it was a great film, but technically some things could have been done better. Amulet really pushes it to the best of its ability. Like technically, that film is incredibly strong. Moving up a peg, we have Scream 2022. Now, this is a guilty pleasure of mine, why I put it up so high. I'd never seen a Scream film prior to this, but I put it up so high because it's the most meta film I've seen in my life. I loved it so much, how it takes the mick out of current soft reboots and sequels and everything like that, and how all the legacy characters have to die and all that kind of stuff. And I love how it played with it, and it just completely took the mick. It was fantastic. So yeah, that automatically throws it up. It was incredible. It was like a deliberately made bad film to poke fun at different things. It was amazing. It was fantastic, and it was actually quite scary as well. Number 3, we had The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne. Now, this one stars Benedict Cumberbatch, and I have to say it's one of the best independent films I've seen. Well, it seems independent anyway. Best independent films I've seen in a long, long time, and I haven't seen many of them, maybe ever even. It's about an artist who you just fall in love with his character, and he's kind of that character who goes off the beaten track for the rest of life, and he's kind of his own dude. And you really learn to care for his story, and it's a lot like Forrest Gump. It's like a British Forrest Gump film in an old period piece. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. Number 2, we have Belfast. Now, this one, directed by Kenneth Branagh. There's a film in the next month to come, which I can't believe it came out within such close succession, but of course the pandemic had something to do with that. Belfast is an incredibly competently made film with a lot of composition brilliance involved, as well as great performances and a really heartfelt story told from the perspective of a young lad. Jamie Dornan's in it, to be honest with you. Of course, well, I say of course, a lot of people have. I haven't seen 50 Shades of Grey. I sat through the entire runtime before the person who I went with pointed out to me that he was Mr. Grey. Well, you know what? That's great. I didn't spot that at all, which is convincing to me that he basically became someone else. Though in this case, more of himself rather than putting an American accent on. So it was fantastic. A great true story, and that boosted up as well. Like Kenneth Branagh telling a great version of a true story, and all in all, just fantastic, and that edges itself above Louis Wayne. But to be honest with you, I'd say the best film of January was Nightmare Alley. Nightmare Alley is the new film by Guillermo del Toro. Some people don't like it, some people do. It is purely the circular structure and the twist at the end of how what goes around comes around, that kind of nature to it. The final scene made me literally speechless as I was going home that night post seeing it. I literally did not know what to make of it, and I just had to stick it at the top. I think Kate Blanchett's performance is incredible, whether a character's that justified in the story or not. I think it's a really great performance and possibly the best character in the film. Willem Dafoe does a great job as per usual, and Bradley Cooper's a good leading man in this. Toni Collette's a nice little addition as well. But all in all, it's just fantastic. It feels like there's like a few different films mashed into one here, rather than one cohesive story going from place to place. It's like 3 different films that smashed together. There's a few criticisms I can make, but overall, I think it is definitely the strongest of the bunch for January. So let's move on to February 2022. I'm going to try and pick up the pace here and fly through some more of them. In 13, I have Studio 666. It's a film about the Foo Fighters, which I think one of their drummers has recently died post this film coming out. When I saw it, yeah, that's as much as my condolences go to sort of the fans and the Foo Fighters and their families themselves. Yeah, the film is dog shit. Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe it's meta for fans of the Foo Fighters. I would debate it over Licorice Pizza and this one, but I honestly think this one's worse than Licorice Pizza. It was so unfunny. There were so many jokes where they tried to get a few laughs out of the audience, and I think I legitimately laughed or was properly entertained once in one scene with about one joke that I chuckled at. The rest of it was just so forced, and in terms of horror, it was just gory for the sake of being gory, though I get it if it's a heavy metal. And just overall, just really cheap horror. I don't know if that was deliberate or not, but it just didn't really work for me. Coming at number 12, The Souvenir Part 2. I didn't get this film. I thought it was really abstract and weird with not much of a point. I understand it's a film about the UK film industry, and I appreciated that, which sets it above Studio 666. But it was just really abstract and confusing, and I didn't really get it. Maybe I need to see the first one first. Number 11, we have Uncharted. Now, from this point forward, again, I don't have the problem with the films that I'm talking about, except that I just think they're better as they go up. Uncharted is a great, well, I'm not gonna say great. It's a good video game movie. It's not terrible by any means, but it's not amazing either. It does the job. There's a few twists and turns that were surprising to me, but overall, yeah, whatever. And Nathan Drake should not be Tom Holland, I'm afraid. No, especially how he's literally acting alongside Mark Wahlberg, who 10 years ago was about to play the role, and then he grew out of it and he ended up being Sully instead. No, this is the movie that made me become a little bit annoyed with Tom Holland, with the oversaturation of it all, whether it's like Cherry and then Spider-Man and Devil all the time, and now this. It is absolutely everywhere, and he's now become one of those actors where you almost get annoyed when you see him. But yeah, to be honest, I like Devil all the time. I was one of the small corner of the world that really liked that film. I actually loved it, in fact. But yeah, moving on. Number 10, we have Moonfall. Good, to be honest. I didn't. I enjoyed it. It did have some consequences, but yeah, I'm starting to understand why people call Roland Emmerich's films, if I'm saying that right, all the same. You've got Independence Day Resurgence. This is definitely a B-Tech version of that, 100%. But maybe a little better, you could argue, but it was strong. It's another worldwide disaster film, but it worked. It did the trick. It's fine. Moving up a step more, we have Jockey. Now, this one was this is where I mucked up earlier, but Jockey, yeah, it's a film about an aging jockey, and sort of the consequence of time, and then growing up and parentage and various different things like that. And it's a nice little film. Again, I think in terms of plot and characterization, it could have been done a little better and a little more clear to the audience. They kind of seem a tiny bit one note, the characters, but the themes through the characterization and the dialogue are communicated very, very well. And it's a good looking insight in sort of being young and fit and being able to keep up with the system of jockeys. So yeah, moving up, we have Marry Me in 8. I thought this was charming. I thought it was a great film with Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson. A great little romance flick, and actually probably the best one I've seen in a few years, to be honest. That have come out in the last few years anyway. It was really strong, quite an original concept, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was well, I might be wrong about that. I don't watch many old films, as you probably know by the historical reviews. But it's Marry Me is a bit it's sweet. It's a sweet little film. It's nothing astounding or anything, but I had a good time watching it. It was very enjoyable. Moving up another one, Jackass Forever. Now this one could have very well taken the top spot, but I had to be serious and say, right, okay, in terms of craft, I have to put other ones higher. But I'm sorry, I've not laughed at a film that hard in absolute years. I could not believe what I was seeing. Again, just like Scream, I'd never seen a prior Jackass film. I could not believe my eyes at what I was seeing. I had such a good time watching it and then went into Moonfall after I'd had some dinner. But either way, it was fantastic. I loved every bit of it. And moving up from that, we have Death on the Nile. If it wasn't for Kenneth Branagh's performance as Poirot being so strong, I'd probably, or Poirot, I would not have put it above Jackass. But it's a fun little mystery that's put together in quite a fascinating way. The VFX on the river with the boat set is just not good. I pointed that out as we were watching it, that I thought the VFX was shit. But because I went with someone else, and you know, it did the job. But Poirot is a fantastic character right from the get-go, even a very intriguing opening scene. Kenneth Branagh does an amazing job. I haven't seen Murder on the Orient Express yet. I'm not sure if that'll be better. But that film was a lot of fun and quite funny as well, the more than I was expecting. Now here's the biggest surprise of the month, if not the entire year so far. In number 5 for February. Wait, actually, no, I've gotten this wrong. No, yeah, I've gotten this entire thing wrong. Let's recap this, shall we? Okay, there we go. There's 12 in February. So 12 Studio 666, 11 Souvenir Part 2, 10 Uncharted, 9 Moonfall, 8 Jockey, 7 Marry Me, 6 Jackass Forever, 5 Death on the Nile, and we have 4 left for February. So number 4, the biggest surprise of the month, if not the year, Dog. Now this one nearly did bring a tear to my eye. There are some moments in this that are honestly like this could be, if it was handled slightly better and if the marketing was pushed way harder, this could have been a modern classic. It's so charming, and Channing Tatum did an amazing job as his acting sort of competency. I'll talk about The Lost City later, but I have to say he did a great job. This was a great film to show what Channing Tatum can do on his own, and I was very impressed. It's very emotional at times. And it's any animal lovers, get it on rental or PVOD now through iTunes or some other means on Sky. Just watch it. All animal lovers will really appreciate this film, and also those in the armed forces as well. I think it's really respectfully handled. So moving up, we have number 3, Cyrano. Now, Cyrano, they talk a little bit like Shakespeare, not all the time, but of course, with films like that, it's not always going to be astounding. But the story itself that's being told and the themes is absolutely flawless. The character beats and the emotion, some of the scenes, your heart breaks for Dinklage. It absolutely does. It's got such... I think this is based off some source material. I don't think this is an original thing. I think it's like a famous thing or something. Forgive me wrong. I haven't got a lot of time to be very cultured on these things because I just don't have the time. I can only go and see these things in cinemas. I can't get a lot of context on these films I'm going to see. But it's astounding. It's so good. And the way it's handled right to the very end, it's such a powerful story. If there wasn't 2 films that spoke to me more. Number 2 for February 2022, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. This one is probably, I don't know what actually constitutes as a thriller. I've really struggled to understand this as the years have gone on. But as it is sort of a true biopic and sort of a drama, I think it's a drama, yeah. So a drama telling a story of a complicated plot and stuff like that about religion and sort of these couple on the TV and who are beloved. As it is, it's fantastic. Garfield and Chastain's performance, and the makeup as well. The makeup, the thing is, I'm not a big fan of usually that side of film, but I have to commend them for it. It is amazing. What they did, whether it's the old aesthetic or costume design or just the aesthetic of the old shows that they managed to achieve on sort of fake sets within the film. Yeah, amazing. How they managed to capture that time period, it was fantastic. But I have to say, the best film of the month that did capture my heart a little bit more is The Duke. I think this is, of anything I've ever seen him in, this could be Jim Broadbent's finest performance. Absolutely. I really get mixed up between Hugh Bonneville and him. But no, Jim Broadbent, I'm pretty sure it's Jim Broadbent. If I've got that wrong, this will be so embarrassing. But yeah, Jim Broadbent, he gives the performance of his career, according to me. That is... You just like the character so much, and you like the relationship with his wife. I have to say, sophisticatedly speaking, if that's the right word, it doesn't hold a candle to the likes of Cyrano. But it's just its charm. And the way it's put together, how any audience member can just hop in and have a good time. It doesn't force you to think. It doesn't confuse you. It's just a story on face value that you literally fall in love with the characters in that family. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And there'll be a film I'll say later that I think it's also a BFI film. I think this is a BFI film. And the next, there'll be one I talked about in March, is also a BFI film that sort of speaks to me in a similar way. That's just a simple story that someone can back. And yeah, that's it for February 2022. So moving on to the one I saw the least for, and that's March. Quite a quiet month, but let's move on. 8, Umar. Yeah, that was just a shit horror movie, really. There's nothing really else much to say. I saw an Instagram post where I went with Evie to go see it in Sunderland, and yeah, no, I was not buying it at all. It's not good. There's a few stylistic choices with camera work here and there that are quite clever, but aside from that, we're just more laughing at it than being scared of it. It was not very great. Number 7, Red Rocket. Now we're into the ones where just the others are just better than it. This was a film about basically an adult sort of a bygone era porn star who wants to sort of get back in the game, and he goes back to his ex-wife's house, and he just kind of he just crashes there. Meanwhile, at a donut place, he meets a girl who tries and gets into the industry and then runs away with her. Well, I just spoiled the ending there, but it's been long enough. Yeah, that's basically the gist of it. It was just an innocent little story. Well, hardly innocent, but yeah, you could just watch it, and it was just a popcorn flick. It was all right. It was good. I mean, I saw some pretty horrific things in it, but you know, there's an audience for everyone. Each to their own. Moving up one to number 6, we have the Nan movie. I was quite entertained by it. There were some genuinely heartfelt moments in it, and I hadn't seen Catherine Tate's Nan previously. But yeah, there were some heartfelt moments, and overall it was a really fun time. I'm sure fans of the show would be quite happy with it, the same way that probably Mrs. Brown's Boys would be with the movie, because the movie for that was quite great. Moving up to number 5, we have Ali and Ava. This was a great British This is a great British film of about sort of an ethnic man and a white woman who just become friends, and then moving on from that into lovers. And it's kind of like just a modern day little romance flick in modern day South Britain, around London area. I think it's London anyway. And it's it's again like quite an innocent popcorn watch. That's lovely and fun, and it dives into a lot of British culture as well. It's a nice little one for modern British audiences, I'd say. So yeah, give it a watch. Moving up to number 4, we have Ambulance, the new film by Michael Bay. Well, hey, this guy bought a new drone for Christmas and he was very excited about it. Yeah, the amount of drone shots in this film got very, very jarring, but I do have to say it was a high-paced action adventure that impressed me a lot. I was very impressed with it, and it was a lot of fun to watch Michael Bay do his thing, completely Michael Bay. The story itself was actually quite good, really. It was simple plots, so I'm not going to give him that much credit for it. It was very simple, But the characters were good. You got to like the characters. Yeah, it was a great film by the end. Yeah, very good. I'll obviously forget a lot about these things, but yeah, it's great. Talk about explicit movies like Red Rocket. Number 3, we have X. Now, X is in this time, it's a period piece, and they go to shoot a porn movie. So they go to shoot that, and it's kind of a horror movie around that, where a wife in a barn wants to be beautiful again and condemns the people who are shooting this film for being what they are, which is a lot younger and basically a former shadow of herself. So yeah, it gets a bit interesting and let's say a bit grisly. But yeah, it's really well put together. It's very stylized, and I really, really like how it's put together. And the performances are great, by the way, as well. The performances are fantastic. Jenny Ortega as well, massive step up recently. And that's Scream. She's great in Scream, but she was just, like, again, it's still a little bit of that Disney Channel quality to her. But nah, she was great in this one. Like, fantastic. Moving up to the one I was talking about, BFI, previously, The Phantom of the Open. I would rave about this movie all day. It was so good watching this guy's story. You just root for the guy, Maurice Flitcroft. Maurice Flitcroft, yeah. Amazing. It was such a fun ride. Again, it was kind of like that classic old-time British story in previous decades, where a real person's story is brought to life, and it was just so heartwarming and fantastic on the same level as The Duke. And it would have hit that top spot if it weren't for the first, I'd say, major blockbuster of the year, The Batman. The Batman coming in at number 1. What made this get number 1? Well, Pattinson is fantastic in the role, along with every other performer, whether that's Colin Farrell, well, the unrecognisable Colin Farrell as the Penguin, and Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and various other people, even Jim Gordon, played by Jeffrey Wright, and even Alfred, played by Andy Serkis. Loads of different roles, but it was the villain that made it the number 1. Paul Dano's Riddler is phenomenal. I've seen clips of him acting in other films, but not a full feature of him really going ham. And this was it. And it was purely that interrogation scene behind the glass of the two of them. That is my favourite scene in the film. And it is fantastic. Like, what have you done? That is amazing. It's one of my favourite Batman scenes now out of all the films. I've only really watched the modern ones, but I'd say that it even rivals like the When the Chips Are Down scene. I'm just ahead of the curve scene between him and Joker in Dark Knight. I'd say that it even rivals that. It was such a good interrogation scene. It was fantastic, and the glass really provided that effect. I'm really shocked that they didn't include the Joker deleted scene, because I thought that was fantastic, but I understand they didn't want to take all the emphasis off Riddler. But yeah, that's all for March 2022, and let's move on to the last film before we are up to date with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This is April. We have 10 films to cover, and let's get started. Number 10, we have Morbius. I have to tell you, I didn't think this film was terrible, but it is the worst of the bunch. It's okay. I liked it. When I watched it, it wasn't terrible. But yeah, all of them were a lot stronger. It's a half-decent introduction to the character, should he ever return. And yeah, I thought the action scenes and the fighting were actually quite interesting. But it was kind of like blink and you miss it. There wasn't really like enough of the close combat. A lot of it was like in the shadows, and it was effects, trickery, and just, quick kills and stuff like that. The actual fighting in the end between the villain was quite good. Moving up to number 9, as I said about Channing Tatum previously, The Lost City. Yeah, this was a fun time. Again, a very much a popcorn movie. I enjoyed it while it lasted, but yeah, it was kind of sad to see Daniel Radcliffe in his first film since Harry Potter just being Daniel Radcliffe. I'm not saying he was phoning it in. It's just the material he got, I don't think was really worth it. I think it seemed like a paycheck job. I don't think there wasn't much character with him. I would have liked a more intriguing villain from Daniel Radcliffe, and I really want to see his acting ability going forward. Obviously, he might have shown that in theatre and various other things since Harry Potter, but I haven't seen that currently. So moving up to number 8, we have Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Such a fun ride. Tails is so cute. Knuckles is hilarious. Jim Carrey's doing his thing, and if he is retiring now, respect to you, sir. Respect. it was a great film. I went to go see it with Cameron from Mr. Place and Game Central. It was a great fun ride. We'd both tell you we had a fab time, and it had a sort of Avengers quality to it in the end, like an Avengers movie. But I won't give away exactly why. But yeah, it's a good fun ride, and if you've got any like nephews or young kids who might be interested in that stuff, 100% do it, and adults will appreciate it too. A peg up from that though, number 7 is The Bad Guys, DreamWorks' new film. I was very, very impressed with the art style and how sort of the direction for this film. I was very impressed. This is a step up for DreamWorks, and it could be the return. The writing's quite simple, again, like a kid's movie, but the direction and the art style alone put it above Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's a very, very strong animated film, especially for today's standards, where a lot of studios can phone it in. Moving up in number 6, we have Downton Abbey, A New Era. This film, I'd never seen a single episode or the first film of Downton Abbey before going into this, but I can tell you there were some genuine emotional moments in here. You can get the sense that there's an established franchise here. And on its own, it tells a great story with a lot of light-hearted British humour, which Maggie Smith had me dying a few times. It was really, really funny. Classic elderly humour. And sort of elderly people coming out with jokes about the modern era and stuff like that. It was great. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, I wouldn't be a skeptic over it. Are you kidding me? Have I got these numbers wrong again? Yes, I think I have. So let's correct that. Yeah, there's 9 in fact. So yeah, Morbius is 9, Lost City 8, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is 7, Bad Guy 6, and Downton Abbey 5. So let's go for the top 4. Number 4, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. I'll be honest, before this film came out, I thought Johnny Depp would have been a better pick for Grindelwald as a character going forward, but since the LGBT representation coming in between Dumbledore and Grindelwald is an enormous part of this third film, I can hand on heart say that Mads Mikkelsen would have probably done a better job than Depp did for this particular script. I do believe if Mads Mikkelsen did The Crimes of Grindelwald, it wouldn't be as compelling. I think Johnny Depp really sells that performance, especially in the sort of arena when he's speaking to his followers. I think he sells that a lot more than probably Mads Mikkelsen would. But this particular story, I think he gels with it well, because I think Mikkelsen and Law have more chemistry than Depp and Law would have. They never even really spoke, to be honest. So, they didn't really. To my knowledge, I'm just looking back, they didn't. But yeah, I would say it's possibly the strongest entry, maybe if not second, but it's definitely better than The Crimes of Grindelwald. This was a very strong entry in the Wisdom World. There was a couple of things wrong with it, but I give it a pass. It's standard Wisdom World entertainment at this point, and it'd be a fun ride if you're a Harry Potter fan. I recommend it. The Crimes of Grindelwald might have broke your heart, but I'd give it a chance, if so. Up next, we have The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent in number 3. This was just a bucket of fun. I love this. Like, I was talking to my parents about this, and they didn't really understand the point of it. They thought it was like egotistical, but this is the whole point of a movie like this, where it's a Nick Cage movie and it's all about him. It was loads of fun. It was just, again, it's quite meta, and it was good because of it, and it actually told quite a good story about Hollywood and being past your time and age, in the same way that Jockey did in the previous 2 months ago. It was a great story, and it had some genuine emotional beats, though I will say as a criticism, it was obviously hard to connect with those emotional beats because it was Nick Cage playing himself. It wasn't like a fictional character to get invested in. So moving up to number 2, we have The Northman. This one, symbolic wise, is probably the most symbolic, not symbolic, sorry, in terms of themes, the most theme heavy film of the year so far. This about pride and the pride of men and the way people lived back then. It was like a really gruesome, gory history lesson that sets the tone right away on a violent note, I must say, post the opening sequences. Yeah, let's say it involves a barn and some torches. Yeah, let's just go to that. Some very big Midsommar vibes. Yeah, it's a very, very, very bold film with some fantastic performances, crazy performances, if that, and it seemed a very original story. That just was really impressive. It was not the movie I expected it to be from about the midpoint. It was really, really solid. And I think if you can look past the way they were talking and sort of how thematically heavy the film is, it's a really good time, if anything. As an action flick, it's actually quite good if you would treat it as that, with all the sword swinging and everything. It's quite brutal and fun. But yes, the best film of April, now that that's all capped off and done now, is Operation Mincemeat. in my opinion personally. I managed to guess that the score was done by Thomas Newman before the film even ended. But this is honestly one of the best war films I've ever seen. Because the themes itself is just sort of like the hidden war and the side that no one talks about. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And just how it all came together, the tenseness of the situation, even though you knew it was going to be all right because it's historical events, it still finds a way to keep you tense on the edge and really root for these characters and really present the dire state of war, but at home. You know what I mean? Rather than like kids being sent away or from the perspective of children, which is usually what they've adopted to. The adult stress of wartime. Do you know what I mean? And especially when you're fighting the war but not on the front lines. It really explored that in a way that cinema, especially modern cinema, really doesn't. From angles with a wartime film that just aren't discovered. I think they're starting to run dry on these ideas. And I wouldn't be surprised if in future years more of these come up. But yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah, a fantastic film. And directed by John Madden. And yeah, that pretty much wraps out April. So I'm not going to do an overall ranking for all of these films, but in total, now that I've done the count properly, that should be 22, 30, 39 films I've seen over the last 4 months. And those are my rankings in the individual months for all of them. It's been going on quite a while now, but I hope you've enjoyed this massive review of January to April 2022. I'm Matthew May, this has been Mayster Reviews, and I'll see you all next time for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.